Welcome, everyone. What a special episode we have today with incredible neuroscientist, Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor. Dr. Taylor's history-making TED Talk, the first ever TED Talk to go viral, and her books, My Stroke of Insight and Whole Brain Living, are important in many ways, including finding your own personal power and peace is one thought away. What an honor to have Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a cellular neuroanatomist extraordinaire, as our little starlight guest. Dr. Taylor, welcome, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, Andrea, I'm so happy to be with you. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, this is super exciting for all of us. Now, as a kid, I was fortunate to have traveled the world for tennis. During doing so required me to have a passport. Combining that with my lifelong interest in neuroplasticity, I look upon your extensive study of the circuitry of the brain and your personal brain experiences as you providing people a passport with a brain map included for everyone to connect to all that is. How do you explain your whole brain living?
Oh, well, I like your idea of the passport. So, we've been functioning as a society on a myth that we only use 10% of our brain. And that's simply not true. The brain is made up of these glorious neurons, and they're very social creatures, and they thrive when they are communicating with other cells, and they actually die when they're not. So if it's alive and it's in your head, you're using it. So then the question is, okay, well, what conscious choice do we have in activating these different parts of our brain that are what we would consider our subconscious? So whole brain living is being able to identify the four primary groups of cells inside of the brain, and the two emotional, one in each hemisphere, and the two thinking, one in each hemisphere. What do each of those groups of cells do? What are the behaviors that they give us? And they actually end up looking like personalities that we can identify in ourselves and in others. So whole brain living is exactly that. It's getting to know and differentiate between the different parts of our brain, so we have more say in who and how we want to be in the world.
That's fantastic. Now, it's great to learn from people who have passion, wisdom, and experience in what they're talking about in teaching. You certainly have those all, but you have a very, very unique experience in what you're talking about. So you had a degree from Harvard, and then you had to relearn everything all over again. Your degree, walking and talking. Talk about perseverance and patience. What was that like?
Oh, one moment at a time. So I was at Harvard Medical School when teaching and performing research there. So I had a job there. And then I woke up and I had this major hemorrhage in the left half of my own brain. And my area of research at Harvard was, how does our brain create our perception of reality? Okay, well, that's kind of interesting, right? And what is different in the brains of individuals who experience different kinds of reality? So people who hallucinate and have delusions would be diagnosed with schizophrenia. People who are experiencing bipolar with depression and levels of mania. So what are the differences in the cells and the way the cells are communicating with one another in different people who are having different experiences of reality? And so then I had a hemorrhage, wiped out my whole left hemisphere, and all I had was a right hemisphere, and I could not walk, talk, read, write, or recall any of my life. And that was the new beginning. And, so how does one persevere slowly, and how does one stay positive, an underlying sense of deep, deep gratitude that I'm alive at all? And if I don't have an artificial expectation on myself or a negative judgment on myself, then I am where I am. And then the question is, well, where might I be if I try to recover whatever it is, whether it's something physical, something emotional, something cognitive, health, whatever it is. The willingness of me to give my body, slow myself down enough to say, what do my cells need in order to recover? And if I slow down enough to that level, and I recognize it's not about I'm paralyzed on my right side, but it's like, okay, cells in my brain are wounded. What do those cells need in order to recover? Well, they need quality sleep. They need quality nutrition. They need us to protect it from the cells from toxins and poisons, and which are sugar and caffeine at the level of the brain cells. And how do I promote health at the level of those cells?
That's really important because so often we get caught up in everyday life and things work okay. We're walking, we're talking, we're functioning, we're doing well. And sometimes it does take a traumatic event to take a step back and go, oh, okay, I might need some more sleep. I might need to have better nutritional situations. It takes an alarm almost going off in us. You had everything shut down. And that leads me to my next question, which is so special. You've had to relearn all that. You had to relearn your degrees and everything. And then you decided to make a difference to everyone else. So what you decided to do is say, okay, I've learned this information. I've regained my abilities. And now I want to position it so you can live better. You can live with whole brain living. And that's a very a tremendous effort on your part, because after all you've been through, you can just sit back on your boat and say, I'm good. I love nature. I love animals and just hang out.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
don't, you take that step out into the world and say, and it's revolutionary too. It wasn't as if a lot of these things were already out there
Right.
being applauded upon. So I can't thank you enough for that. That's tremendous. One of the things that you feel is very important is that people take responsibility for the energy that they bring into the space, and in their space and your space. Even in your emails, you say, you have this line that says, please take responsibility for the energy you bring into this space. So it's really important to you. Is that something that you had before your stroke, that you recognized more of how important energy, vibration, frequency that people have, or was that something that just escalated and you became more aware of after your stroke?
So I would have described myself as being pre-stroke, very, very more dominant in my right hemisphere, which is more in the present moment. It's more athletic. It's more musical. It's more artistic. It's in the present experience of humanity and being connected, feeling connected to nature. So much so that my poor mother, who was an academic, wondered if my left brain was ever going to turn on. And it wasn't until I got to college and I fell in love with the subject of anatomy. But I was fascinated with anatomy because it was me. It was this experiential entity at a biological level. So it's like, okay, so let's learn about the biology. And then it was beautiful and fascinating and interesting and amazing. And then I had this brother who had schizophrenia, and so he processed information differently from me. And it was like, okay, what's the difference between our brains at a cellular level? So I had all this really meaningful work before the stroke happened. And then the stroke happened. And then I shifted out of the left hemisphere altogether. I didn't have language. I didn't have me, the individual. I didn't define the boundaries of where I begin and end at the level of what a left hemisphere does of defining me as that individual, but it shifted me into that consciousness of the whole. And it was like, yeah, I don't ever have to recover. I mean, this was really peaceful and beautiful, but I was completely non-functional. And it was like, I literally had this conversation with myself of, when I'm dead, I get to exist in blissful euphoria all the time, probably. And it's like, but I'm not dead. So if I am alive, and I can gain some skills back, like language, so that I can share with other people what I've gained, not what I lost, but what I've gained in the absence of that busy, chatty left brain that exists in the past and exists in the future, but what the power and the beauty is of the present moment. I'm willing to recover enough of that left brain so that I can appear normal enough to the rest of humanity that I might regain a voice. And so that's what I did. And so there really was nothing altruistic about my coming back. It was I had become altruism. I had become the consciousness of that which we all share. So coming from that, it's not because me, the individual in my left brain, now decided I'm going to write a book and do all these things. It was like, how do I take the best of what I have come to know without the filter of the busy, distracted part of my left hemisphere, which is the society that we live in? How do I recover just enough of that part of me that I can make a contribution, a positive contribution to the rest of humanity, and yet still experience the peace and blissful euphoria of being a human and living the life that I've gotten to live. So it's, we have these two very different ways of perceiving ourselves in relationship to ourselves and the world, but we're both of them. And my ultimate goal is for us to really find the balance. And so when I do end my emails with, please take responsibility for the energy you bring, sometimes that's just enough for that left brain to say, okay, she's really asking me to pay attention to who I am, what I'm doing, how I'm being, and how we might meld together in a state of collaboration rather than competition.
It's terrific because you're allowing people to learn what you've learned without having to go through what you had to go through for that. So that's so fantastic. I know Adriana and Karen are also inspired by your exciting work, and Karen is next to share.
Hi, Dr. Jill. It's a pleasure meeting you. Feel like I'm on a TED Talk. Just kidding. So my question is, your interest in becoming a neuroanatomist was because you have a brother who is diagnosed with brain disorder schizophrenia. You're also an active member of NAMI, which is the National Alliance of Mental Illness. Now, are brain disorders and mental illness considered the same?
Well, mental illness is a category that is going to it's very broad. So something as severe as schizophrenia, where people are wired differently and they have experienced hallucinations, which is seeing things that aren't there, or smelling things that aren't there, or tasting things that aren't there, that the rest of us don't have the experience of, as well as a delusional thinking system. So, and people with schizophrenia, the way that their brain is wired, it is actually at a cellular level different from those of us who would fall into that larger natural curve of what we would describe as normal. Something like severe anxiety is a different kind of disorder, but it would also be classified as a severe mental illness. I think that there are 7 of them: schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anxiety, panic disorder, OCD, I'm missing something. So those are technically the severe mental illnesses. But right now, beyond a severe mental illness where the actual cellular wiring is being profoundly impacted, we are in a declared by the attorney general in a mental health crisis. And so mental health is going to be 100% dependent on the health and the well-being of the cells inside of our brain that make up our mental wellness or our mental health or our mental illness. So you asked me a very big question about various different kinds of categories that we think of, but the ultimate goal, I think, as a society is to recognize there are people who are wired differently. And these severe mental illnesses, these people tend to benefit from serious psychiatric illness medications. A lot of us are what I refer to as the worried well. And the worried well is more of a mental health issue, and these people can better benefit with normal therapy.
Thank you for explaining that to us. Now, well, for me, growing up, I didn't know what anxiety was because it was something you wouldn't hear much. However, I came to learn about it through my younger brother who suffered from anxiety. He sought help, but even so, school, work, and among other things would trigger his anxiety. I believe that many of our younger generation are experiencing anxiety on a daily basis. Something you mentioned in one of your interviews really stuck with me. When all 4 characters in our brain are in conflict, that leads to anxiety. what would you tell younger generation that could help them deal and cope with or overcome their anxiety?
Oh, huge question. Thank you so much for asking it. So important. So, anxiety is something that happens in the present moment, and there is a conflict between what I'm experiencing and my level of safety. I don't feel safe. And the way that we are biologically programmed is that information streams in through all of our sensory systems, and then it goes to the cells of our limbic system, our emotional system. And we have an amygdala in each hemisphere, and hippocampus in each hemisphere, and cingulate gyri in each hemisphere. It doesn't matter. But the amygdala is the alarm, alert, I don't feel safe. And so when I'm feeling anxiety, I'm not feeling safe. There is a disconnect between what I'm feeling inside of my body and this alarm system going on inside of my head and the external world. So one of the things that, and I think it's really, really important that people remember that we are absolutely 100% biological creatures. It's what we are. So every ability we have is because we have brain cells that perform that function. So the cells inside of the anatomy, the cells inside the amygdala are in alarm, alert, dysregulation. I don't feel safe. Push me away. I have this entire physiological response, and I feel out of control, and it's just not, it's not good. So I think the first thing is recognizing whenever we feel anything, whether we feel sadness or joy or happiness or blame, we want to blame somebody, we're feeling jealousy, whatever it is we're feeling, anxiety, it's a group of cells inside of our brain. And the better we get to know and understand how our brain works, then we gain the ability to, I have suffered from anxiety and panic disorders, attacks. And it's like, I can generally feel them coming on. I can recognize and observe, oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel that flutter in my chest. I'm feeling that jaw. I'm feeling the tension. I feel like it's kind of like a hot flash, but it doesn't have a temperature. It has a ball of energy that is surging inside of me. And we can actually, once we learn what other parts of our brain there are, we have different ways then of interacting with that circuitry so that it just doesn't have to turn on and start self-replicating itself and running on automatic. Instead, we can actually look at different parts of our brain and say, okay, how do I use my left thinking tissue to fix this? First of all, is there something that needs to be fixed? Am I physically safe? Okay, I'm physically safe. I just feel, my heart is palpating. It's like test anxiety. Oh my God, it's circumstantial. Something's happening, and honoring that. But at the same time, character one, left thinking tissue can turn on and say, but physically I'm okay. We're okay. I can turn on my right thinking tissue and say, I got you. I'm here. We are together. You are not alone. This part of our brain, we have other circuitry, and we're your back team. We got you. And then the right thinking experiential tissue can turn on and say, okay, let's go for a walk. Let's go look at nature. Let's go distract ourselves away from just focusing and perpetuating the cellular circuitry of that anxiety attack.
That's really great. Yeah, that's a great answer. It's almost like right now we're all on Zoom and there's 4 of us. And so it's like having a team. You talk about the brain huddle, and it's like having a team together inside to handle each different circumstance, and why you say that peace is only a thought away. All right. So Adriana, you're up with your thoughts and questions.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Dr. Taylor. It is wonderful to have you on the podcast. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Your book, Whole Brain Living, is amazing and helped to understand from also a scientific point of view how our brain processes information and the difference between the left brain hemisphere and the right one, and why it is important to understand how they work together. What surprised me was to learn that the cellular networks of our emotional system never mature. So this completely sheds light on some of the ways. And also what surprised me was that from a purely biological perspective, we humans are feeling creatures who think rather than thinking creatures who feel. And I also found the 90-second rule and brain huddle to be useful for bringing awareness and management to the current thought process. So thank you for that. Those tools are amazing to manage all the 4 characters. So my question would be, if one of the 4 groups of cells that form the distinct characters in our brain is more dominant, yes, which one would be the most beneficial to be dominant among the 4? If there is such a thing.
Well, I think we all have dominant characters. I think that when as soon as you meet somebody and every hair is in place and the pen is in the pocket and everything is just right and the stapler is where the stapler belongs, and that's a very strong character 1. And character 1s are in control of people, places, and things. They're the fixers. They're the bosses. That is an obvious character 1, perfectionist, for any perfectionism character 1, and we all have it.
I'm working on the names too because it works better.
That's perfect. So and then there are people who are just worriers. They worry about everything, and oh, that's not a good idea, and oh, you shouldn't do that, you might get hurt, and I'm just going to worry about in 20 years how am I going to afford for my child to go to college. It's just the circuitry of worry is the circuitry of worry, or the constantly so character 2, we know some people are predominant character 2s, right? And we love them, right? Because we love them in spite of themselves, and we just try to support them and nurture them, but pulling them out, and it's an art form to help a character 2 get out of their own character 2, because character 2ism, the sadness, the worry, the anger, the rage, the loving conditionally, the whatever it is delicious. These are the deep emotions of our past. So ride them high, ride them low. They are what make life, add a whole new level of dimension to our existence. There are dominant character 3s, and I'm guessing that, Andrea, there's no way that you grew up to be the superstar that you came at such an early age with tennis if you had not been a very powerful character 3 who just went out and hit the ball. The ball morning, noon, and night.
Interesting. I thought you were going to say character 1 because of Oh, interesting. So that's 3.
No, character 1s do not. Character 1s are in a box. You were beyond the box.
Oh yeah, boxes don't work with me.
I
would think. I thought character 3. I thought they are the fun lovers. They are,
but just think about it. She wasn't going to go out and play tennis as much as she played tennis if it wasn't fun.
Okay.
Right? It escaped her away from anything else negative going on in other people's character 2s. I don't know at what age you probably started keeping score, right? Because as soon as you're keeping score, now you're in competition. But the character 3's in competition with themselves. I'm gonna hit that ball.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna perfect that backhand. I'm gonna perfect these moves. I'm gonna fly through the air, and I'm just going to do all this.
You're so right.
Stuff. I'm going to do it my way, 1,000%. And we need to keep score. Oh, well, it turns out that I've been doing all this character 3 stuff that, okay, I'm pretty good with the score now, and I can start winning stuff because I've spent so much energy as my character 3. Right.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. So exquisite musicians, artists, sports players, they're primary character 3s because they just do it because they want to do it. And then, okay, let's throw in keeping score with character 1s, right? And all of the competition. And then, the outfit, but I wear my outfit, right? And so you don't find a bunch of tennis players all wearing the same thing anymore, right? I wear my stuff, right? I wear my brain, right? I'm going to go to that course with my brain on there. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. So, yeah, that's all very character 3. And we know these people, right? You look in their closet and it's filled with all this crap, right? It's just there's no order whatsoever. You look in their drawers and it's like, yeah, panty drawer. Yeah, it's got panties everywhere. Character 1's going to fold their little panties and put them in little pillows, right? Stack everything up and create some order. And then there's the character 4s who they're just good. They're just alive. They're just loving. They're just supportive of all of us. And so I'm going to say, I am going to answer your question, by the way.
You are. Yep.
I think that it is the right hemisphere has a value structure of we, the collective whole. How do I use me, whether I'm just in the blissful state of gratitude that we're all alive and that we're all on this planet at the same time together? So that's a good value structure. I value you simply because you're alive, right? I respect you. I love you. I support you. I nurture you because we are humanity. And then little character 3 is, yeah, but that's great, but I want to do something with my body, right? So I want to finger paint, or I want to paint, or I want to play my music, or I want to do my sport, or whatever it is I want to do. But it's still of the consciousness of the value of we are one collective whole. So if I had to choose a predominance, I would say either a character 3 or character 4. Come in with the value structure of the collective whole, and how do I take me as a part of humanity, as the individual in the left hemisphere, and then use me in the best way possible, but it's coming from the value of the us. Because as soon as I cut that off, as soon as I get rid of the right brain, it's all about me, right? It's all about me, mine. And I want more, and I want my house to be bigger, and I want my bank account to be bigger, and I'm compete against you, and because you're the other, and so it becomes me and mine versus you and them, and I only like what looks like me, or sounds like me, or smells like me, or talks like me, and because otherwise I'm scared of you, and I need to push you away because you don't feel familiar, and so I don't feel safe, right? So the value structure of these two hemispheres are very different from one another. So come into the world as, and there's a wonderful book on this. It's The Master and His Emissary. It's a fantastic book. It's a big book, but it's written by Dr. Ian McGilchrist, who is a British psychiatrist, and he has kind of created a collection of what has science learned at the basic science of all creatures. What have we learned about the differences between the way the two hemispheres process information and what they value? And so we're not the only life form that has the value structure of the collective whole big picture, as well as the left brain, which is, oh yeah, I might be an eagle soaring in the wind and feeling that freedom, but I'm still hungry, and that little prairie dog over there looks pretty tasty, right? But I still have to be able to have a left brain that focuses on that and then organizes all of me to go and get my meal.
Yeah. It's so interesting. And Adriana has another question, but she also used to play professional tennis, but she grew up in Eastern Europe, where it was an opportunity to get playing tennis wasn't like what I did. It was like you said, mine was total character 3. Hers was more a way to get.
It was more like, don't mess up. Don't mess up.
And so it's so interesting how you just describe that in a way, and how someone can have an exact kind of upbringing, but completely different strengths in how their characters. Yeah. Very interesting. Okay. Sorry.
No,
ahead,
this
Adriana.
is great. And back to the question, I was wondering about that. And that's what I thought when I it's towards the end of the book, it pointed out too, that they all 4 parts need to work together, but at the same time, it'd be great if you can make most of the time dominant the number 3 and not number 3, but the 3rd and 4th character. The following question was, and we touched up on this a little bit. So when you have went through your experience of having a stroke when you were 37 and relearning everything from feeling to thinking, and also living in higher consciousness, you already described that your perception of the world changed. And what advice would you give to those who are in search of their purpose today?
Big question. So purpose is big picture,
Yeah.
right? It's not about me and mine. Purpose is an awareness that what is important is not what I do. What is important is who I am. Who I am. And who am I as a part of a collective humanity? And what do I bring? What unique skills do I have in all of my brain and all of my abilities? And how can I apply those skills for the benefit of all of us and still make a living? Because the left brain is the expert on how to get more. And there's nothing wrong with that when it is adequately or appropriately tethered to a value that puts it in the category of this is my joy, this is my love. I'm going to go back to Andrea. When I was a little girl, when I was a teenager, tennis was my game. I loved tennis. And even as a teenager, I would jump on my bike and ride my bike down to the local college, and I would just volley against the college kids. But I'd never wanted to score. I just wanted to volley the ball.
Play.
I just wanted to play. I wanted to just be able to throw. I didn't want to worry, I didn't want any of that left brain. I just wanted the experience. Let my body be in the flow of this beautiful experience of a sport. And so I was on my high school tennis team, but I wasn't any good because as soon as I had to keep score, my whole system went into anxiety.
Yeah.
Didn't do the competition, but I was a hell of a player. I was a hell of a player. And so I learned, and music was the same way. I was a musician, and I would play my cello literally 3 hours a day because I loved it. I loved to feel the vibration of those low melodic tones against my body, and then just have everything working together and the timing of it all. And it was ecstasy. And I could play well together in small groups because it's all about listening to the others, right? But as soon as we had to start playing for competition, it was like anxiety, but that boy, do I wish I knew then what I knew now about these different parts of the brain and how I really could have nurtured myself through that piece of fear, because clearly Andrea did. You made it from the play into the profession. This became a combination for you. And as you did that, your purpose, because you're stemming from that character 3-4 right brain, look at you now. Look at what you care about. Look at what you've been doing since you were what you were when you were in your formative years. So I think that in finding purpose, it's a matter of really looking at what are the unique skills that I have? What are the unique gifts that I bring to the game? And your game, then, Andrea, goes from being the superstar player at such a young, vibrant age into, well, now you've created a beautiful network of beautiful people who care about certain things, and they value you because they know the exuberance with which you bring yourself to anything that you do. Right. And so you're able to do what you do so effectively because it comes to you so naturally. And then, you probably might have to do a few more left brain character one things than you're comfortable with, unless you've got a really well-developed character one. And then it's just like this give and take in the relationship between the different parts of who we are in order to be able to live our purpose and find our meaning.
It's so interesting that you say that, because I so wish I could have just had you there when I was playing pro, because I was 2 in the world at 16. And when I defeated people or they beat me, it was like tennis date on the tennis court. But for some people, it didn't. And so when they were traumatized and they were crying in the locker room and they were so upset that I won the match against them, it's like the score thing. I would have loved to play without keeping score. And so when I won a match against people and they were very upset, like really upset, the next time I'd be like, okay, here you go. You can have this match next time, because it took the fun out. It was and that was early in my career. Someone actually went in the locker room after I won the match, and they proceeded to try to find liquor to get drunk. And to me, as a 14-year-old, I was like, that was traumatizing. That was, oh my gosh, I harmed you. I hurt you. It's not just tennis anymore. And that to me was so different. So I totally relate to that. It would have been great to say, okay, wait, will you listen to Dr. Taylor and will you guys just behave better after I beat you, and then I'll be fine?
Exactly. Yeah. So where did you grow up?
Originally Eastern Europe, Slovakia.
Okay. And so you were brought into the
I came to college in 2006 in South Alabama.
Okay. And what year were you born?
85.
Okay. So back in the 80s, we were all about fast twitch, slow twitch. Remember all that, Andrea? Mm-hmm. Muscle types, and the Russia populations were, I mean, that whole Eastern European were very serious about their sports and picking the right children for the right sport. And oh my God. And I mean, this is as character one could be. And you're going to grow up and you're going to be an athlete, and you'd better not complain about it, and you better be good at it, and you better win, right? Well, that is a completely different experience than what was going on over there with Andrea, because she was allowed to do it for fun. Right. And then because she was good at it, because she did it for fun, then she could compete. But then she came, up against a character one ruling and system, and a lot of other kids, probably a lot of other competitors, they were all about the win. They were not about the play. Right. They're about the win. And that's a completely different mindset.
Yes. And the wonderful.
I'm so sorry. Oh, Adriana, hold on. I have to ask you.
Okay, go ahead.
So do you think that's why? Because so often professional athletes have a hard time leaving the applause. And I just went straight into the foundation work and was so excited about it. And it was like, sure, I was injured. No big deal. God gave me tennis. Now God gave me to help kids. And there was other circumstances there. But it seems like what you said, number 3, if you're predominantly there, you find joy no matter what. You just find it, and it just works. Okay, so sorry, Adriana,
I was just going to say that exactly what I was about to say, is that joy that you were describing, Dr. Taylor, with Andrea. You saw that. I see it every day with her. It's there because of the work that she does today with the foundation and helping children and families in need. It's incredible. And every day she sends these beautiful notes from the families and kids, thank you notes, and how amazing and how it changed their life for better. And she loves it, not because of the messages, it's the joy that she brings to them, and she sees what it does for the world. So it's there in such a magnitude. It's incredible. It's so inspiring. So just like with you, the work that you do, it's truly an honor to be in the presence of with people like you, and Karen too, everybody.
It's a gift. I mean being willing to say, I value you, and I value this life that I have, and I want to use the life that I have in a way that works for all of us, right? And there is somebody, I was recently invited to a conference, and it was quite profound for me. I didn't go because it's in Europe, and I'm on my boat. And I picked this, right? Instead of me, now that would be very prestigious for my character one to get on an airplane and go be a part of this Oxford debate thing. But the subject of the debate was fascinating. It was leadership by fear or leadership by love. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, we know what side I'm going to weigh in on, right? But it's really gotten me to stop and think that, why? Why is it better? And it's better because it's a true connection. And when we lead with love, there is a real connection. And I don't need to know all the people who read my stuff or watch my TED Talk who are touched, because I trust that when they do that, they will touch their love. And as they touch their love, love is just love. Love is a community thing, right? It's everywhere. And so just by them then feeling that sense of touched and loved, they raise that level of love in the world. And to me, that is where we'll find more peace and we'll find more joy and we will truly be connected. And then, yes, we can have leadership by fear, but it's not a real connection. In fact, it's the threat of the absence of connection. It's like, I will love you until you do that, and then you're gone. Right? I don't like you anymore. I disconnect from you. I'm going to ghost you. I'm going to say mean things about you or whatever. So if we use the model of humanity as the model, the brain of connection, and we're all neurons, and we're all reaching out and we're connecting in love, we truly connect. I don't have to be in connection with Andrea to know that she's my friend. And if I ever needed that girl, and I've never met her personally, I've never seen her beyond here, right? It doesn't matter. If I needed her, she would help me. I know that. I know that about her because it's a connection in love and in support. And so her whole network, she's this enormous neuron that she holds with love. And I'm this enormous neuron and I hold my network in love. And I think that the more of us who do that, we're just raising a vibration of what we are as humanity and what we really want humanity to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's such a beautiful way to say it. And it's interesting when I look at all of us here, because at the foundation level, when you're dealing with kids that have questionable lifespans, and we are, we don't want to say perfectionists, there's no such thing, but you better be detail oriented. Like, you come to Little Star Foundation, if you want to volunteer, if you want to work, every single detail is super important because it brings something to another child or another family, and they've already had enough to go through. And
Right.
So it's interesting but you say it so much better, because like if somebody has a situation and a mistake occurs, because life is life, I try to explain it and say, do you understand the impact? It's exactly like your line in your email. It's such a perfect line that you say, because it's so important. Kids, animals in nature, but especially kids, can pick up energy and frequency and vibration. They just do. And Karen's nodding. I mean, this whole thing, it's in the three of us, we all have that number one part where when you're part of Little Star, you give your ultimate best in that part. But let's go to the 3 and 4 too. So in closing here, gosh, this could be like 40 different episodes in one. I know you have a day, but so I wanted to share this because this was probably decades ago. I started sharing with people about neuroplasticity, and I was laughed at a lot because what are you talking about? I'm like, you don't understand. And so you've become somebody that has made talking about the brain cool. It's like you've made talking about the brain something that's important and that can come to peace. And it actually has been revolutionary. And so now those same people that I go back to, that I went to decades ago to say, yeah, neuroplasticity is important, what we can do with, the kids and people. And now they quote your book, they quote your TED Talk, they understand the influence that you've had. And so I bring up this, and it's kind of the last subject here in conversation piece. Before technology advancements, this is about AI, we relied more on communicating. We talked with each other. There was a labor of love and learning. And now technology has people expecting results and answers instantaneously, no matter the situation. And brain development is changing because of that. There's actually studies that show with the millennials, they spend up to 18 hours per day on digital media. I mean, I thought that was a typo. I read this over and over. And it's actually that. And so
Wow.
like artificial intelligence is now about to explode in ways that humanity does not really fully understand. So in regard to AI on the effects currently and in the future on the brain, what are your thoughts? Because you must have some on this subject, because it's going to be different very soon here.
Well, it is. And I think that, I'm 64 now, and I look at the millennials and I know they're not going to want to take care of me in a nursing home. So I'm counting on AI to give me a really, really good robot so that I can have somebody who's going to give me my meds on time, et cetera, who's going to help me. So I think that AI is going to influence the different populations in different ways. I think for the boomers, it's going to be an interesting and helpful thing. I think we're actually going to get good tools. I mean, they're already vacuuming our houses, right? Just put it in its little house and turn it on, and every, how often, I don't know, it vacuums. I don't have one, but I understand. So I think that AI is going to influence our generation positively in that way, if we can afford it. As far as we as biological creatures, we're in constant mutation. I mean, our brain is very different from the population of human that did not read. And that wasn't that long ago. What, 300 years ago, it was the preachers who were the priests who were reading to the flocks. The average person did not read. So as soon as we started reading, as a population, the circuitry in the left hemisphere even became more left brain dominant. And then we're going to start writing. Well, the only people who were really writing, it was a very small percentage of our human population was doing that. So just language and reading and writing and arithmetic at the individual level has transformed our circuitry. And it has transformed our circuitry much to the left hemisphere dominance that we're currently in. But now we have the millennials, and the way that technology has trained the millennial brain is because the millennials were the first population who rolled over, and in their crib there was a little Teddy Raspin who was talking to them, right? You guys, did you have that little Teddy in your bed?
No.
No, you didn't? Well, it was the common thing in the United States. So our millennials had these little robots who, repeated. They mimicked what the person was doing. They made little sounds and they would say things to us. And so our children's first real relationship of the millennial was with a robot, a mechanical device that had fuzz on it, right? So it was soft and snuggly. So, and then we get these computers, and the computers are teaching millennial brains math. And it's showing us math with, 3 chickens and 2 roosters makes how many? Well, 3 plus 2 is 5, right? So the way the boomer brain and the generation X brain learned was a 3 plus a 2, which are abstract images, equals 5, so which is very left brain. So the whole millennial learning process has become more right brained. And that's why there is this enormous gap between the boomers and the millennials, is not just because of the typical generation gap, but it's because we have completely trained our children through different parts of their brain. So they're actually wired differently. And that is the neuroplasticity of the brain. So, now we've got AI. AI is just one thing. One of the other biggest things is the internet. All of a sudden now, we humans, we have the emotional cells, we have the thinking cells, but beyond that, now we're upgrading, upwiring ourselves, uploading ourselves into the internet. And so now we have this global consciousness in our computer systems, and each of us becomes the interface between what is in our brain and what is in the consciousness now of this internet global way of thinking. So we're mutating. It's what we do. It's okay. Well, some of it'll be good, some of it won't be so good, and it'll be what it will be, and there's no point in sure, it's always important to try to put things in boxes, but that's not our nature. Our nature as humanity is, if it's a character one, I want to make a profit out of it, and I don't care if that cell phone that I'm going to create is going to create electromagnetic waves inside of the brain and cook the brains, and now we're going to have an epidemic of brain cancer. I care about the money I'm going to make because I've now created this thing. Don't stop me, right? And so I do it, and then they go everywhere. And then we start thinking, well, we might have a few ethical questions about what are we doing with electromagnetic radiation in the brain. And it's like, hell, we are on 5G by now. I mean, it's like, that's just how we are as humanity. So then we're going to adapt. Then the neuroplasticity, somehow or another, our brains are going to figure out, okay, our bodies are receiving all this electromagnetic radiation. How might it adapt in certain ways so that some of us now have a propensity to push that away, or some of us, if we have a tendency toward, or we have already had some kind of a problem, we might be hypersensitive to that. I don't know. All I know is it's just going to keep on keeping on, and all we can do is hang on and live the life you have, doing as many things that bring you joy, and figure out how to translate that joy into something meaningful to help other people, and live your life.
Absolutely. And it's exactly what you said. And whatever life brings, we have your whole brain living. We have Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor giving us this information. And so it's such an honor to be with you.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for this time. If it's okay with you, I'm going to run and go get Charlie. Do you have 2 minutes for, okay. So Adriana, I know you had a question about art too. So you can keep going and I'll be right back.
Thank you.
Oh, that's so great. No, Dr. Taylor, I looked when I was looking at your articles. I saw that you create artwork too with brains from stained glass. It's so beautiful. Do you still do that?
I do. In fact, on my boat right over here, I do my stained glass, and I also carve stone. I'm a stone carver.
Oh my goodness.
So I have, and I do bodies because I'm an anatomist. So I carve
Got
limestone,
it.
and I've got a piece out there that is actually a mother, and she's holding a toddler on her lap, an infant on her lap, and looking underneath her arm at a toddler who is kind of pushing the baby away, saying, "That's my mom. That's my mom." And the mom is looking at the toddler. So it's and I didn't come up with that design. That's just who happened to be in the stone. So
that's amazing.
Yes, I do. I just
beautiful. Yeah, no, I love art of all kinds, and especially stained glass. I never done it. I paint and draw and do different things, but it's fascinating to me because it's such a unique process, and the artwork is so beautiful. I mean, I looked at yours and it was like, I want to have one hanging right there. So it reminds me.
Pieces? Did you do those pieces in your background?
And not those two. No.
Okay. All right, because
I've been does have some that looks like it.
And I'm wondering, is that like a little fairy? Is that a fairy in that blue picture?
Yes. So this one was created by somebody who taught me actually how to paint. My very first painting experience was with her. It is kind of a fairy. It's a female face hiding in the background. It's mystical and magical, and the colors. So I love that artwork. And the other one is a piece about music and how it spreads love and joy.
This is Charlie. This is Charlie. She's 7 months old now. She's 7 months old. Oh, Adriana, you have to take a screenshot with us. With all of us.
Yes, I got it. I'm on it.
She's
let me bring this over.
She's 7 months old. She's a Morkie. I've only had Bernese Mountain Dogs, 100-pound dogs.
Yep.
I think like she has more energy. I've never known little dogs. I'm not familiar with little dogs. She just came up from a nap too. Are you ready?
She's raring to go.
It's great because now if I do road trips, I can take her with sometimes. She's pretty good with kids. She's not scared of anything, but when they come over, she's not quite sure if they're waving their hands and everything. She'll kind of come behind me, but she's she's a munchkin.
Oh, she's so cute.
She just woke up from a nap, and so she's just like a little. It's a little special thing.
She's adorable.
Yeah. But yes, it was hard after with Playa. I was like, no more. no
Yeah.
more. And I'm a nature animal person, so much so. And then all of a sudden last, I think it was Thanksgiving, it was like 6 months later, and
Yeah.
someone said, oh, there's this little Morkie available. And I'm like, I knew nothing about Morkies or
Yeah.
little ones. And she's a riot. Like, I mean, talk about like number 3. She's got number 3. I'm a Gemini, so I probably have like double of everything. She's got like quadruple number 3 in her. So this is, yeah, she's pretty fun. But
Oh.
anyway, Dr. Jill, it's just the opportunity people have to learn from you, it changes the world. It just definitely changes the world. And I can't even thank you enough, because we are very familiar with your work, and we study it, and we want to incorporate it in our life. And we know there's some people that may not know about you yet, and the world is hurting right now. And what you can do for people is pretty incredible. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh,
Hi,
this was
Charlie.
amazing.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you so much.
And you know that anytime you need
everybody.
to clean your boat, I'll be there.
Okay. Just come and play. Just come and play.
Okay.
Bring Charlie.
All right,
Oh my
I will.
goodness, so cute. That's
Okay,
adorable.
All right, love to you.
Bye-bye.
Well,
Thank you, everybody.
Bye. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.
How you
Bye-bye.
doing?